This is the process island. So this is where I was hoping we could kind of gather and speak. That's a little bit outside and away from all of that business that's inside the org that you were just in. So first of all, I really am so interested in how hard it is to gather in VR and all the steps that Judit has to tell us. Like, I find it to be a very thick interface, like one that's not thin or smooth. It's a bit challenging, which I think is interesting for us just physically and conceptually to be a part of. So, I'm a new parent, actually not so new anymore. I have a 15-month-old son, and I I've been thinking a lot lately about what it means to make work about parenthood, because it's been this really big change in my life. It's a really big shift in me, and um, things I thought I would be or act like as a parent are just totally wrong, and things are that are new are really surprising me. And I don't know that I'm like totally ready to get into making art about parenthood. So I sort of did something a bit non-committal here in this space. So the space is filled with all of these different ideas, sort of project ideas about making work about parenthood that are all generated from some code that I wrote. So if you kind of look behind you, there's these three white text files. And if you are looking at me, you'll have to turn around. You can get closer to them over here. And they're part of what went into my generator. So all the way, the biggest one on the left is all the different mediums that the art projects could be. In the middle is these are also things that the projects could be about. So for instance, the medium, it might be a website or a net art piece. It might be made with or using a diaper or a spit up. That's the middle text file. And the text file all the way on the right is, okay, let's make work about something. So about exclusive pumping or parenting or things like that. And then if you look over if you over here near me, this is the generator that I wrote with some JavaScript. So you can open that link and you can just see that it combinatorically generates new project ideas. So that'll open a new tab for you if you click this white box here on the text that says click to generate an art assignment about motherhood. So that's the bot that I used. And I was also pretty non-committal about what imagery to use in this space. So I ended up making this code that's an image collager, and that's the platform that we're standing on. It shows you a little bit of that code. So I'm collaging images that my son goes to daycare, and they send images like maybe once a day of him there to show me that he's okay or having fun, or it's sort of this interesting conflagration of what I would call care and also surveillance. So, and over here near where I'm standing now, you can see what the image collagers look like, what they make. So I was collaging all these images that my son's daycare sends to me and pulling out little snippets of them. So that's sort of what the space process is like. And I'm so interested in having you all here in it with me because for me, this space has sort of been a practice in making a work for myself. Like I was really curious what it would feel like for me to walk around in all of this space of all these floating ideas. So I'm actually really curious to open it up to you and to hear, like, what was it like for you? Were there any ideas that really arrested you that you were really interested by, or what was the experience like for you? Yeah, so I want to open it up and feel free to just unmute yourself and talk and chime in.
Thank you so much for this, Leah. This is, first of all, just so fascinating to dive into the background details about all of the fragments that you included in your space. I also would like to encourage anyone to just cut me off and start speaking. I think we don't have this opportunity to see the unmute myself kind of Zoom thing here. For me, what was the most engaging or the heaviest part of your space was probably the audio recording of, curious if that's your real labor, but a man's voice telling about pushing, and so that the baby's head can come out. That just felt like very overwhelming for me.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I also felt like it was interesting just not knowing exactly where that was coming from and whether there was a video that went with it. And without a clear visual to go with it, then my brain started feeling, yeah, overwhelmed about what he was talking about with pushing.
It was odd because I feel so, when you get to the outer regions, you start to feel really alienated because you feel like you're so far away from everyone and you can't find them again. And when I started to hear that voice, I thought it was two other people in the space having that conversation together. So that was very odd.
That's so interesting. Yeah, no, that's not from my labor. I found a lot of sort of royalty-free clips that had to do with children and childbirth online. I was really interested in that audio clip because my experience of birth was that nobody needs to tell you to push. Like my body just knew when to push and nobody coached me through it. And so I'm really interested in this sort of detached idea that a woman might need a male doctor to tell her what to do during birth. So that clip drew me in as well.
It's cool that you use this space, this like virtual space to share like an uncertain process of art making, because it kind of feels like you're inside of someone's head and their associations of different ideas and topics. And so it feels like an appropriate medium to share a process.
Can people hear me? Just
Yeah, we can hear you.
I love the sense of discovery. When I first was exploring the space, I saw these kind of instructional things, and there's some of the language of like, art construct, make a happening, and I thought they were just like kind of quirky performances, and I just liked how it unfolded as I went to different parts, and I heard the playground, and then it started kind of getting me into an understanding that this had something to do with childhood or mothering or an experience of parenting, and then as I went, to different parts, whether I was going by your instructions of clicking on the space bar and going to a different area or flying. I really just liked how it unfolded, and it took me a while to really understand some of what you were trying to take on here. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, and thanks, Alex, for that comment. I don't see you where you are, but for that comment about process. I don't know how interested I am in it as a VR space, so that's interesting to think that VR might be a good space for process. I did find myself like thinking a lot about machinima, right? This idea that you might like use a VR space instead to generate images or cinematic video that goes into another project. Like somehow when I ended up being in here, that's what my impulse was to do, rather than to say, okay, this is the end result as a VR piece itself.
I really appreciate both of these comments to think about what these VR spaces actually can birth or cannot birth, or like how can we be in here. I am very interested in this processing together in these spaces. So I would be interested, Liat, like, did it creating this space or like being here, like, did it add anything to your momentary, like where you are now?
Yeah, it definitely it felt kind of fun to be here. Like I kind of got the sense for myself that maybe this is a process I have to go through in order to get to the next project. Like, but that this in and of itself isn't anything final. Um, in terms of what it's changed for me, I think the aesthetics of VR is so weird. And I do wonder if that's going to come into my work in the future in some way. Like, I like how easy it is to put in really weird images and make them these orbs that contain other spaces. I got really interested in the way you can change the whole color of a space. Like everything here is pink and blue, which are like the typical colors that you are given stuff in when you're pregnant. Like whether you're going to have a boy or a girl, they always give you pink or blue stuff. If you're in a sort of gender normative kind of environment. So I think the aesthetics of it were something that I found I was most captivated by. And I'm not honestly sure what's next.
Well, I'm very curious to see, but also I appreciate you to just being flexible, playing with this without having a solid what's next idea, or like, just like to try this out as a toy, right? And see if that builds further in your practice, or if it's just like one of these little islands that you made on connect to the larger map of your art practices together.
I know we have to wrap up here soon, but I'm just curious for folks who are here, like, did you find that you were interested in like reading specific ideas? Were there ideas that stuck with you or that you could visualize right away? Or did you find it was more about like the general experience of like navigating the space and letting it wash over you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool.
I definitely
I mean, I don't know if anybody heard me before. I'm like a total technophobe, so this is blowing my mind. Last time I did VR was like a million years ago.
Like super rare to be
so with that context, I'll say like just being able to move around and click on things and like go from point A to point B, it's like fascinating enough for me. But once I started getting more comfortable, I was like trying to read and make sense of like just all the connecting points of all of the language. A lot of the times I couldn't quite get it quick enough. So it allowed me to kind of continue to go back and try to like dig a little bit deeper. But it was definitely a combo of just like, whoa, like where am I? And then getting into some of the details and making sense of the concepts that you're trying to share.
Yeah, great. I think, Annie, maybe you said something when Ariella was speaking, but we didn't hear you. Can you say it again?
Yeah, can you hear me? Because I couldn't even hear Ariella talk.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Oh, really?
So I had no idea she was talking. So sorry. I was just saying like how much I enjoyed just the like full experience of it, not like something specific, and how rare it is to be in a space like this, especially like within an art context. It's just like this immersive like idea and suggestion around motherhood. And so I just want to thank you for it, and also
am I the only one?
That, like I just love like the full feeling, not like something necessarily like in particular.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Annie.
Thank you so much. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it just seems like maybe there's some folks that can't hear each other.
It seems like if I like move a little bit to the left, or I do like a little bit of a movement, suddenly it's really quiet and I can only hear like Judit, but I didn't hear anything. I think it was, you said Annie was saying it was just silent.
I'm sorry for this. I don't exactly know why is this happening, but
Yeah,
apparently Annie couldn't hear Ariella. So there was a point when you were both speaking at the same time, but now Annie repeated what she was saying. I also thank you so much for both of your comments. I do think it is very fascinating to be in such an immersive space, Liat, and I think both actually as a flow of all the text worked as well as getting into the details. So I think they actually strengthened each other, right? Or at least for me.
Yeah, same.